The war had been raging for years, with no end in sight. The country was divided and the people were tired of the constant fighting and bloodshed. But there was a new enemy brewing, one that nobody saw coming. The government had received intelligence in that there were traitors within their own ranks. They were leaking sensitive information to the enemy, providing them with the upper hand in the war. The government had to act fast before it was too late. They formed a task force to find the traitors and bring them to justice. They called it the Enemy Within Operation. The task force was led by a seasoned officer named Captain Samuels, who had a reputation for getting the job done no matter what it took. The first step was to identify the traitors. They used sophisticated technology to monitor communication, track movements, and gather evidence. It was a slow and a tedious process, but they were determined to find the culprits. As they delved deeper, they found that the traitors were not just a few rogue individuals. They were the part of the larger conspiracy, a group of high-ranking officials who had been working against the government for years. They had infiltrated every level of the government and had been passing on classified information to the enemy for a hefty price. The task force had to be careful. They knew that the enemy was watching their every move. They had to keep their investigation under wraps and act swiftly once they had enough evidence. Finally, after months of surveillance, they had enough evidence to make their move. They arrested the traitors one by one. And as they did, they uncovered a web of corruption that went deeper than anyone had imagined. The public was shocked to learn that their own government officials had been working against them. There were outrage, protest, and calls for a complete overhaul of the system. The Enemy Within Operation had been a success, but it had come at a great cost. The trust between the government and the people had been shattered, and it would take years to rebuild it. Captain Samuel sat alone in his office going through the files of the traitor he had brought to justice. He couldn't help but wonder how many more were out there waiting to strike. The war may have been against a foreign enemy, but the real enemy had been within all along. It was a reminder that sometimes the greatest threat comes from those closest to us and that we must always be vigilant.